Hello and welcome to the Unlock the New You podcast, brought to you by Bonita Rejuvenation, with your hosts, Anthony Chialonza and Bobby Stein. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello and welcome to the Unlock the New You podcast, dedicated to helping you reclaim your vitality, enhance your well-being, and live your best life. I'm your host, Bobby Stein, alongside Anthony Chialonza, founder of Bonita Rejuvenation. At Bonita Rejuvenation, we specialize in HRT, peptide therapy, anti-aging treatment, and safe weight loss methods. Each episode, we explore cutting-edge solutions, share expert advice, and dive deep into how you can unlock a happier, healthier version of yourself. Welcome and thanks for tuning in. Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Unlock the New You podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Stein, along with founder of Bonita Rejuvenation, Anthony Chialonza. We've got two special guests, clients actually of Anthony's today, and we're going to learn all about their backstory, their successes, and trials and tribulations, and see what's all what. Anthony, what can you say about these gentlemen?
I can say they're great guys, absolutely great guys, really.
Really?
Yeah. you
First for everything, yeah.
Yeah, right. No, but sincerely, me, Bobby had talked about in one of our other podcasts how I build rapport and relationships, and I think we built a really good relationship. I enjoy working with these guys. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's rewarding too, which you'll find out as we go along through the interview. Very, very rewarding.
Yeah, it's a labor of love and a passion of Anthony, as you can tell, right? He embodies helping people and encouraging them, inspiring them, walking them through processes. Now, tell me, so Eric, how did you two come together and come to meet? You and Anthony.
I think my story is probably a lot like a lot of other guys. Last couple of years, I've always been into working out, physical. I've been, an athlete my entire life. I've always been driven to do stuff. In the last 2 to 3 years, I just kind of felt that kind of going away. I didn't really have a lot of ambition to work out.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 49. I'll be 50 next month.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. So just kind of felt a little drugged down, didn't really have a lot of ambition to go to the gym anymore, which I always loved to do.
Sure.
Got pretty comfortable on the couch, put on a ton of weight, not good weight, and got to about 255-ish pounds.
Fighting weight.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Not a good 255, and just didn't feel great. Just kind of didn't have a whole lot of drive to do a whole lot of anything, and sex drive way down.
Yeah.
Just didn't feel like I used to feel. I was always kind of the life of the party and a happy-go-lucky guy, and just didn't feel good. And one night, I wasn't sleeping well. One night, it must have been midnight. I was just like, I'm done with this. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I've heard about TRT and these types of clinics and whatnot, and just started kind of researching. And a couple different clinics, I put in my information online and whatnot. Anthony called me back literally the next day at 9 a.m. And we just started talking, and we kind of spoke the same way, I guess. I just kind of felt like comfortable. Like he was just like, "What's going on?" And And I told him, and he said, let's, if you want, let's get some blood work done and see where you're at, and we'll go for there. He never really tried to sell me on anything or anything like that. Just like, hey, let's see where you're at and see what we can do. If it works, great. And that's one thing that he said right away. He goes, if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, look, man, we can part ways. And he said too, if you decide to start this journey, you don't want to do it for whatever reason, and we're into it, still friends. So it felt pretty comfortable pretty quick. So then we went and got the blood work done.
And I remember vividly explaining to Eric, like I do many other men, you're not alone.
Yeah.
This is something we all go through.
Yeah.
And I think right then and there it kind of puts you at ease a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that feels like this.
Yeah.
And I know I said to him, because after reviewing his labs, I had said, I hate to say this to you, but you're an easy fix for me.
Yeah.
And, we started our journey into his overall wellness. And I guess what's it been, maybe about 9-10 months now?
May 1st.
Okay.
Was
So
when we started.
coming up on
So
years.
yeah, so you're absolutely right. And then so it's been a great deal. And what I like most about it is he came up with a plan. We took a look, and he very in-depthly went over my blood work, explained how things work. I'll say a lot of it went over my head, but he also is a great reader of people because he could tell when things didn't really kind of. He could, let me explain that to you a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and he's like, all right, first of all, you're way too fat. We got to get that. But we came up with a plan. I said it jokingly, but that's kind of what.
You know, it's funny. It's funny because I have no problem saying you're fat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no
He
problem.
let me know I was carrying more than a little bit of extra weight.
Yeah.
And that was the first step. And it was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. First thing we're gonna do is get this out of you. And we came up with a plan to do that, and that worked. And yeah, you know.
And how far down are you? You know, you said around 255
So
you started.
I started about 255. Right now I'm 228, 229 ish. Yeah. So.
And what about the other symptoms that you mentioned? The energy, the being
Oh.
comfortable on the couch, and all that kind of stuff.
Everything is. I don't want. I'm going to sound like I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. Everything's through the roof.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish my wife was sitting here because she would tell you the same thing. Sometimes it's a little annoying because she's like, "Dude, you need to relax.
Yeah,
Like,
leave me
don't
alone."
do something."
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
Well, I remember, and we're going to get to talking about our buddy Gary here. But I remember when I first met his wife when we were discussing Gary, and she said to me, I never forget the things that mean stuff to me.
Yeah.
And she said, I got my husband back.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
like I left their house, like for me, I felt
100%.
I felt very rewarded.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, we built relationships. I seen how hard he was trying, and he changed his life around.
Yeah.
Right. And then to have her say that to me was
So gratifying.
It really, really is gratifying. It was a win,
Yeah.
and I know he feels it because he felt so comfortable about what we were doing.
Yep.
Then we talked about his dad.
Yeah. So tell me, how does that segue into your father, Eric Gary? You know, you've been at it now. How did that go?
So I started obviously built what I think is a very good relationship with Anthony. So I felt comfortable with him. My dad got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I was like, okay, I don't know anything about this. Obviously, scared the whatever out of him.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's a scary diagnosis. So I said, I don't know if Anthony deals in this, but I know what he's done for me, and I'm going to give him a call. So I called Anthony and told him what the situation was, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I think we can do something." And so he came over to the house with Pops, and Gary's known as Pops, by the way. That's what most people call
Gotcha.
him. But he came over, literally sat down for at least an hour and a half, and was very, I don't know if cordial is the right word, but very respectful. Made sure everybody was really comfortable, especially him.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation, and we just kind of started rocking and rolling. Again, blood work. Okay, here's what's going on, and the workouts that I see Anthony doing with my dad. He comes over to my dad's house once a week, and it's really cool to see because obviously what he's doing with me is way different than what he's doing with my dad, and to see the different exercises and the mental stuff that he does without my dad really even knowing that he's doing these mental things is cool. It started with the smallest of movements with the fingers and whatnot, and it's I think it's progressed pretty quickly, honestly. And
We'll actually talk to
I was
Gary
going to
about
say
this.
I'll let my
But you
dad
remember
talk.
the first time we met, we were talking about all the medication you were on.
When I met you, I was a mess.
I don't want to say that because I like you, but yeah, there was like at least 2 loose-leaf pages of medication.
Yeah.
And
between 16 and 20
yes, and,
medications.
and
I was an insulin-dependent diabetic. I was on blood pressure medication. I was on anxiety medication. I was on.
you name it, you're
Well,
on.
you know,
And multiple medications for the same thing. I think
Yeah.
we figured out. Yeah.
well, what happened? I used to weigh 250 pounds. So my doctors decided to put me on medication to make me lose weight. But I lost it real fast. I lost 70 pounds and I was having trouble walking, had no energy, had no drive to do anything. And then I met this guy. And after we had our first consultation, this guy said, "What do you think?" I said, "Let's do it." And then I told Anthony that I wanted to dance at the Christmas party.
So this would have been in September.
Yeah.
And he said, "I think we can do that." And I danced at the Christmas party.
Amen.
There you go.
Awesome.
And Gary,
Yes, you did.
Gary, tell me if I could, how young are you? What's your age?
76.
76. So you went from 250 in short order, you lost 70 pounds, and it was really debilitating.
Oh, yeah, very. Like I say, I couldn't walk 20 feet without having to rest.
Wow. Now, what is it? How long have you been on therapy with Anthony?
So we started like September, so it's been about 5 months.
5 months?
And we, real simple, but I think really what I wanted to get across to everybody was all that medication he's on, we're down to next to nothing.
That was my next question.
So that's huge that I want to get across because it's something that I preach all the time. Listen, if something, God forbid, happens and you need medication, you take it.
Sign up.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because we have geniuses in our world and scientists who have created medications that are to our benefit. But we become so dependent on medications in this country. We don't have to get deep into that. We all know the crap that's going on, right? And so when I seen that, I knew exactly what was happening. But if you recall, I said several times to you, I'm not your doctor.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I'm not your, I want you to
Qualified it.
I want you to do your due diligence, read up on these things. I want you to understand. So, me and Bobby have talked about this before, and we talked about building relationships and rapport, but I'm also an advocate of education. Right? So, educate yourself. The more you know, the better. And that's what they did. And now I talk about Gary often to many folks and say, hey, we went from this much medication to this much medication. No more diabetes medication.
Yeah.
No insulin at all.
No
insulin at all.
Okay, so-
I was on insulin for years and years and years. 3 different types of insulin.
So what in addition to the insulin did you eradicate or have you removed from your daily regimen?
Do what, please?
What else? What other medications? About
I
sex?
take no more blood pressure medication.
Okay, that's huge, right?
Yeah, and I take no more anxiety medication, and I take no more a lot of stuff. The only medication that I depend on now is my kidney medication
Okay,
because due to the diabetic medication, I lost 50% of my kidney function.
understood. Gotcha.
So now we're dealing with that, and we're dealing with it from a health point of view. So, hey, we're going to continue taking that medication. And each time we do our labs, we see an increase. All right, it might be minimal, but we see an increase. We know we're going in the right direction.
So right trajectory.
Correct. And that's what I try to explain. And we just did it the other day, right? We went over his last lab panel and seen the progress and what's happening. But listen, you can look at every lab panel you want. Look at any marker you want. The number one marker that I go by is how do you feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
How do you feel, Gary?
I don't take any more naps.
I wanted to mention that too because that's the first question. Every time we see him, he doesn't say hi. He goes, "How you feeling?
He did it tonight.
How you feeling?" He did it today. He did it today. And I think back to medication. Something that shocked me was the medications that he was taking for side effects of other medications, which I was shocked to learn. And Anthony has educated us a ton on that. And it was crazy. Like he was taking 4 medications for side effects of 4 other medications.
Compounding.
Yeah, and it was just like, yeah, it was nuts to.
But it's not all the medication, right, Gary? I mean, he's putting the work in. He's putting in the work.
So let's talk about the work.
Yeah,
What kind of
that's
important. Protocol and regimen do you have, Gary, going on?
And diet.
And diet. So we talked about his nutrition, okay, because of being diabetic, all right, which he's no longer diabetic, by the way.
That's amazing.
Again, off of all insulin, and we have him just on a not a strict diet. All right, we just watch what we eat.
Yep.
Weight has maintained. We got him where we want to be, and that's maintained. So we know the calories that he's consuming every day are accurate where he needs to be. But he puts the work in with exercise too.
He does.
And as Eric described, if you remember when we first started on simple things, moving the fingers, moving the toes. Now we're doing overhead squats with a bar. He's doing
I hate squats.
sit-ups. Yeah.
I don't know anybody that likes squats.
Yeah. But it's just to see the progress for me is so rewarding.
Over the moon.
I mean,
The
just
last time Anthony was at my house, he put a ball between my legs. And I said, "You want me to pick that up, don't you?"
I thought he was going to put the ball between your legs, and then while you're incapacitated, go raid your refrigerator.
That's not a bad idea. But I know what kind of food he has in there, so I'm good. I'm right. But yeah, so tell what happened.
So I squatted down and picked the ball up.
Yeah, you did.
Matter
And
of
then he
fact.
said, "Now put it back down."
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
But it's things like that too, where without Dad really knowing what Anthony was doing, he's been doing the squats down to a bench, sitting, and then standing back up. Well, Anthony eliminated the bench and said, "You just need to pick the ball up."
No
So
more
he
safety
did a
net.
squat,
Right.
without the bench,
Without thinking about it.
without even thinking about it. He went over.
And listen, we can tell stories all day.
Yeah,
trust
for
me,
sure.
but, there was one day in particular that really sticks in my mind. And, so Eric's off to my left, and Gary's here, and I say, "Do something." And I do everything for a reason, right? So just walk from A to B. And he walked as if there was not a care in the world. And I see him out of the corner of his eyes glass up a little bit. And to me, I'm done.
Yeah.
To me, this is it.
Yeah.
It's not the squat. It's not the lifting. It's not any of that.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that he was able to go from A to B, no problem.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Although the one day we threw a monkey wrench in the plane, and I said, "Come on, let's go outside for a walk."
Yeah.
Oh shit. I don't want to do that, right? But we went outside for a walk, and what do you do now? Every day you go.
Every day I walk around.
Yeah. So
So a monkey's been lifted off your back, thankfully, and it's a win-win situation, right?
Without a doubt.
Dad, it's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Yourself, you got your dad back.
For
Dad,
sure.
you got yourself back, and
Yeah.
and you're gratified to the moon
Yeah.
and back. So it's just a remarkable transformation, and it's ongoing, and you're seeing yourself progress each and every day. You feel good each day.
Eric tells me all the time what he sees. I don't see it as much as he does.
Right.
Yeah.
But he says, "No." And Anthony tells me the same thing. But I don't see it as much as they do because I do it every day.
Yeah, you're in your own skin.
Yeah.
right.
And were you done? I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
You mentioned, you got your dad back and whatnot, and that's true, and that's something that people probably don't see a lot of. When you feel better, your relationships are better. And I don't know if you would disagree, but our relationship, because we can have our relationship again. Before it was like, what is, and I'll be very honest, like, what's wrong with you, Dad? What's going on? Come on, what's wrong? And it can get a little toxic, with me and my wife. My wife's like, "Look, don't you like me anymore?" I said, "No, I feel a certain way. I'm not comfortable with myself, and I'm arguing with him about how he feels, and he's not able to explain how he's feeling, and it all just turns
Great
into
point.
this
Great
circle.
point.
And when you feel better, your relationships are better. Or I'll say that's my experience for sure.
And we talked about this before we started the podcast when we were saying what we wanted to accomplish with this podcast was not to just talk about medication and exercise, but to talk about how this lifestyle that we lead,
The fruits.
right?
Yeah,
It
for sure.
extends to relationships, to careers, to a lot of other things than just going to the gym, exercising. And that's really the point I want to get across. So first off, the first point I want to get out there is how proud I am of the progress he's made. That's first and foremost, right? And I wanted to show the world that it can be done. We can do this.
But you have to want to do it.
You have to want to do it.
That's a great
Right,
point.
that's a great point.
You can take a horse to water, right? But
You can't make it drink.
exactly. And what has it done for your confidence, Gary? How do you feel now in terms of just your self-esteem?
Well, we had a Mardi Gras dance Tuesday, and I danced all night.
Christmas and Mardi Gras.
It's a busy
yeah.
place.
What's next?
Well, I live in a community of 55 and over,
Okay.
so there's a lot of young people there, and we have several dances. We have several dances every year. Last year, I was in such bad shape, I'd go to the dances, but all I could do was sit there. 'Cause
Wallflower.
I
Yeah.
couldn't dance, and I couldn't walk, but Anthony changed my life.
Fantastic.
Amen. Amen.
Fantastic.
Love that
Yeah,
stuff.
really, really.
And that's real. That's true.
It's real for all of us.
Yeah.
Because it changed my life too. Not to get sentimental and go back to what we had.
Yeah, but
And it's so gratifying. I hate to keep saying it over and over again, but It's so rewarding.
But can I say to your point, that comes across with Anthony. Like, there's no doubt that he loves what he does, and he does it for a reason. It's I would say financials a little bit down the line when it comes to him doing what he does.
I think he found his purpose.
It very well comes.
I think he's found his purpose,
Yeah.
and his purpose is people,
Yeah,
right?
without a doubt.
And this is People 101 right here.
Yeah, for sure.
So, the Unlock the New Gary podcast.
Yes.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
We told you we're going to get up dancing by the end of this.
No, he's a different guy, man. He's a different guy. Without a doubt.
Well, Gary, I've never, these guys have the benefit of, by contrast, seeing where you were, where you are, where you've came from, and the progress you've made. I've never had that. I just met you this evening, so I'm looking forward to seeing much improvement. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, everything's a go as far as I can see and tell.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
You give what you're willing to give.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're just to circle back before we wrap up. That you mentioned that twice. You say a lot of people you had to put the work in. It wasn't an automatic. It wasn't a given. What emphasis do you put on mindset, and what emphasis do you put on your will?
It's all, what do you want to do with your life? I mean, it can be good, it can be bad. And you can make it good, or you can make it be bad. My son and Anthony decided to help me make my life good.
But you did the work.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, he can say,
He showed me the way. You
Yeah.
got to have somebody show you the way. You can't just do it.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to put in the work.
Well, we put a team together because when I'm not there, Eric picks up the slack, and that's what I'll say to Eric. Hey, look, this is what we did today with Pops. If you can't make it, or hey, this is what I want to see before I come back next time. And we put together a good, solid team because we all want to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's a great point that I want to get across to everybody out there is, if you want to do it, there are resources out there to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's not just the stereotypical, hey, I'm going to go to my doctor, and that white lab coat's going to tell me yay or nay. No, you're going to make the decision of what you want to do with your life. And if you want to become better, if you want to live the longest, healthiest life possible, there are options out there.
Yeah.
I
Excellent.
hate to segue into a commercial, but that's what we do.
Right.
We change people's lives for the better. And you're living proof of that.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for being a part of it.
Amen.
There's no doubt.
Thank you for being
No doubt.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Yeah.
For the second episode, we met with Pops,
Yes.
Gary, his son, Eric. We had some amazing testimonials. And for the founder, Anthony Chiralonzo, on the far, your left, my right, I'm your host, Bobby Stein, for the Unlock the New You podcast. And until next time, please, folks, take good care. Thanks for watching.
That wraps up another episode of the Unlock the New You podcast with your hosts, Anthony Chialonza and Bobby Stein. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe.